Hey again. Well, I've just met Nichiren Buddhism, started practicing, and I've been practicing since 1976. But prior to meeting the practice, I'd, when I was still in the throes of whatever that depressive episode was, and then the high of coming out of it, I was walking around Royal Crescent, not far from Holland Park Avenue, thinking about nothing particularly. It was a sunny day. And I was actually thinking about sound of two hands clapping. What's the sound of one hand clapping? Which is, I'm thinking, oh, for God's sake, don't be so bloody silly. What do you mean, one hand clapping? And then suddenly, bing, I was like somewhere else again. It was like somewhere else. It was like I suddenly was in the midst of a whole lot of what appeared to be sparks of light. And I knew what they were. I knew what it was. I knew what it was I was looking at. I was looking at the underlying reality, which is that everything, all life is connected. It's all connected and it's all equally worthy. I knew that without a shadow of a doubt. I thought, that's the answer I've been looking for. That's it. Fantastic. So I was like, whoa, and I went into the pub and I tried to tell my mates about it, and they're all saying, oh, shut up, get your beer in, go and get your shout in, you sod. And it was like, I was puzzled really, because I thought, this is amazing that I understand this. In my very being, I understand this, and they're not taking it on. And gradually I began to realise that, yes, that is my experience. That's what I've understood. But if they will understand that, that's their journey, not mine. And I can't give it to them. Which was like, bloody hell. Anyway, I'm very, very happy that I've understood it. So when I met this Buddhism in that basement flat in Northern Square, they started to explain to me about cause and effect, how it works, and how it's the basis of Buddhism. You make a cause, make a positive cause, you get a positive effect. Make a negative cause, you get a negative effect. Simple, very profound. And it's not just a small thing, it's the way you think, what you say, what you do. All of these are implanting causes that are implanting effects in your life. And I began to understand, okay. And they said, just do the practice, and you'll begin to understand more and more. By chanting, you invocate your own enlightenment. And I was enlightened in a sense, but I didn't have the tools by which I could actually fully understand what I'd understood, really understand, or be able to articulate what I'd understood. So what had been happening to me as well when I was lying in bed at night, before going to work, I would end up in a hypnagogic trance, which when you're really deeply asleep and your body's sort of paralysed, because, you don't want you rolling about all over the place when you're trying to sleep. But then I'd wake up and I was still paralysed, but I was imagining that fearing that I could see big spiders crawling up the bed towards me, knowing that actually there weren't any spiders there, and also worrying that the door would fling open and a demon would come in, and that's ridiculous. But I was still afraid. So I thought, this is the test of the practice. So I woke up there and I was paralysed and I was thinking all this stuff. So I started chanting and immediately went to sleep. And from that point on, I've never suffered from anything like that ever again. And another thing was I got a letter from home in New Zealand saying that my dad had had a stroke and he was ill, very ill. So they said to me, you can chant for anybody, and particularly obviously somebody you've got a karmic connection with, like your father. So I chanted for him not to die. And he lived for another 13 years and he got to hear me chanting, because I went home a couple of times after that and saw him. And though he wasn't interested in chanting or practicing, my mother did, strangely enough, when I went home. And I was thinking to myself, how can I get my parents to chant, or my mother, how can I get them to do this? So I asked my mother, I said, do you want to chant? She said, will it help me, dear? I said, yes. She said, okay, I'll do it. I thought, oh, well, that was easy. Bloody hell. Shakabuku, nothing to it. Shakabuku means to introduce another person to the practice. It means to bend or break, change your karma, negative karma, obviously. So from that point on, I was practicing strongly, and before you receive a scroll called a Gohonzon, which means the object worthy of respect, which is like a scroll with characters on it, I think kanji or whatever. Anyway, there's the down the middle, and the characters in the middle say Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and then the names. All this is in Japanese script. I don't know what they meant, but anyway, I just chanted because I trusted the people who talked to there. They're all sort of, they're very. They weren't the posers I thought they were. They were all generally people who were struggling or striving to understand what their life is about and actually taking charge of it, which was great. And the little Japanese guy, a guy called Yoshio Kawahara, became a sort of like, to me, was my sort of elder brother, who was like a mentor, I guess. And he schooled me in a lot of the basic theory. I'm always grateful to him for that. So I joined in all the activities. I became a group leader, which meant I looked after 3 or 4 people who were new, just starting to practice, sharing what little I understood with them. But main thing is just encouraging them and chanting with them. The chanting changed things. In fact, I look back now and I see the day that I started chanting, my life began to change in the positive way. It wasn't anything that I consciously thought of, I just did it because it seemed to work, it seemed to make sense that if you make a sound, then your body vibrates with that sound. And if you make the right sound, which is chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, then the sound you're making is the sound of the universe. Saw that sometime later on the mantelpiece in Wigan. Anyway, that's further on in the story. So anyway, throughout this practice, I was working in a really crap job in Hammersmith for, I can't remember the name of the company. It was a rubbish job I was doing. But anyway, I was also still playing rugby. And one day, or one weekend, went out playing against, I can't remember what team it was. There was a lot of bloody Kiwis in their team. And in that game, I was full-back and diving to tackle people, and I broke my thumb. So I went to the hospital, and they said, have you had anything to eat today? I said, oh, no, I haven't. They said, right, whoosh, boom. I was in and woke up with a big plaster on my hand, right around the thumb, like that. And so I couldn't work for the next 3 months. So at the discussion or with the group meeting, this beautiful woman said to me, oh, now you've got your hands like that. You put your other hand together like that, and you can chant 1,000,000 chants, 1,000,000. And I said, oh, what? Go over, you mad cow. What's the matter with you? Anyway, I thought, well, what am I doing? I'm off work for 3 months, and if I chant 1,000,000 daimoku, that's Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, it's called daimoku. If I chant 1,000,000, I've got time to do it. I'm here for 3 months. So, yeah, I did it. And that mad cow was then designated as a group leader with me. I'd received my Gohonzon by that time. And I got to know her really well. We got on really well. And she became my wife, my dear wife, Anne. and we were together for 44 years. Sadly, she passed away a couple of years ago, but she's my life companion, my best friend, and my greatest critic. Great person, wonderful person, and a bloody good artist as well. So we had, oh yeah, another thing is at this time I moved into a flat in Chelsea, don't you know, where some members had vacated it going back to Japan. They said, anybody want this flat, take over this flat? So yeah, I'll do it. And me and Anna moved in with another couple, also members. And then we decided, okay, why don't we try buying this flat? Because they were selling it, people who owned it. And I said, okay, let's try. At this time, I now had a job working for the Met Police at Notting Hill Gate Police Station, looking after the vehicles as a garage hand. And so I rang up. I took a couple of days off and started ringing various mortgage companies to find out if I could get a mortgage on this flat. And started at A and worked my way through the book, ringing up, saying, yeah, telling what this is what we're doing and this is what we want, blah, 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 blah. No, okay, ring again, no, boom. And eventually I got to M, Mornington Building Society, and they went, yes, oh, good. Right, so we got a mortgage with the Mornington Building Society. Thank you, Mornington Building Society. And we bought the flat, which we bought for a small amount of money, relatively these days, very small amount of money, which then tripled in value when all the prices started going up. And then Anne's parents passed away up in Wigan, and left us a house. So because we were, by this time we had two sons. We had one son, Ben, and it was like where we were living was Redcliffe Gardens, down the bottom of Earls Court Road, and it's like busy traffic, all the time traffic, never stopped. That's London. So we thought, okay, we'll sell the flat and go up and live in Wigan, because it's Anne's hometown, and also it's clean air, it's country air, good for the kid. So that's what we did. We moved up to Wigan, and then we met a whole load of other problems, of course. And we sold the flat and made a lot of money on it. But we faced opposition from Anne's brother and his wife. His wife was a very staunch Catholic and did not approve of our Buddhist practice. But that's a story for another time. I'll leave that here for the moment. See you later.